cryptocurrency, which I can't wait to ask you about a little bit later. Huang from Mecanas is stepping in for Jerome, who couldn't make it sadly. He's the head of investor relations and partnerships. If you don't know the company, they're actually this month working on a project to sell 49% of an Andy Warhol work, which is fascinating. Marco, as I mentioned earlier, the Director of Blockchain Audit and Assurance at Deloitte. Jess Woolgrave, co-founder of Codex Protocol, who are building a decentralized registry for fine art. And Roy from FRESCO, who are also building an art ecosystem built around the blockchain. Now the first build of these new ecosystems which are keeping track of art.
I think this is going to be huge because I want to first talk from the touching on your problem about provenance. I want to talk from a collector perspective. And as you see right now, no matter how big the piece you buy, let it be 1,000 or 1,000,000, usually the art gallery will accompany that artwork mostly with a piece of paper, with a very nice folder saying certified from that gallery, signed by the director, and that's it. Like a lot of gallery I encounter with, they've done the same deal globally, just like that. That's so, so 100 years ago. It's the same system, never changed. So I think what blockchain can do for provenance, exactly just like Jesse said, blockchain cannot solve cancer. Like it can only solve a product problem. But I think what's critical about blockchain adding that provenance aspect is that it can help make our life easier in our world. It can build a layer of trust where anonymity is a must, where mistrust is prevalent. Because think of how right now, if you're big in the New York art scene, you just walk into a gallery in Paris, without you calling up any of your buddies or emailing your buddies, the sales associate in that Paris gallery may not treat you as a serious collector. You need to, when you ask them how much that piece costs, the sales associate is going to look you up and down and say, I'm going to email you back in the next 2 days. But as I think, we're in 2018 right now. How can we expedite that process? And think about with the blockchain, even right now you do not need any, any foundation knowledge about blockchain. Just think about how blockchain can help you trace back to who transferred that data to you. So next time when you, as a New York collector, you walk to a Basel gallery or a new booth here, and then when the other people want to come and ask, may you show me your collector strength, sir? So you can show him, a blockchain address with the data you uploaded voluntarily and the artwork data and directly transferred from a known gallery or auction house. Because blockchain data essentially at a base level without real life validation is worthless. Just like how you're on Twitter, you have a lot of fake spam account happening for the, without the verified accounts. So I can think the same thing. You're gonna have data that's polluted, but also it's about your real life validation. And added that onto the provenance aspect, it's gonna make life a lot easier when you go to a foreign gallery or when you go to a booth. It's a fast way to build a trust without the other people knowing what's your truly collection strengths because you're voluntarily showing a part of it.
Now, question to the both of you. This vision that you're painting is fantastic, but how close are we in reality? I know it's both startups, you're both building from the ground up, but how close are we to the art market, to this being rolled out properly, across the whole market?
I think I think one of the things is that this technology is very early, and there's been fantastic.
Even today, when we talk provenance, you take a look at how auction house is doing and the gallery doing it. Gallery is doing a piece of paper, using it as a medium. And auction house is using probably 5 lines of text after each lot. And even today, you go to some major auction house, a recent Andy Warhol sale, they use a photo that allegedly of the painting's owner he took with Andy Warhol, without the painting present, saying, okay, this owner used to know Andy, and then when he owns this piece, this proves the promise. As we can see today, I think a very curious case about our world is that authenticity has not become an important issue as provenance, as who owns the art before. And when you bring that aspect, how do you combine the virtual blockchain data with the physical artwork? It's truly, how can you verify each person, like without knowing their name, that verify their work come from a verifiable source before them? So you think about, in that case, just a couple weeks ago, people go crazy for Rockefeller's collection. Anything from the collection got sold out. Why? Because you buy Rockefeller, you know you sell it next time. It's a Rockefeller. You already ask provenance. You do not need to explain whether that Villard lithograph is a real thing or not. You sell it because it's Rockefeller. It's the same thing when you buy from any established Swiss, collectors. So I think that's the aspect where blockchain can come in solve very good, because it's yes, indeed. For example, when you upload physical artwork to blockchain data, anyone online who finds a Picasso painting, he can upload that photo online, because it's essentially open source. You can download a whole bunch from that. But what creates that difference? What creates the difference between someone who's on the Times Square just standing on the street, upload a Picasso data to a blockchain platform, and compare with someone who's a well-established collector who works with major galleries, upload a Picasso painting data, and saying via other sources saying he's the direct owner of the address. As you can see, this creates a difference. I think for the physical artwork, to create that connection with the blockchain world, essentially still gonna rely on how artwork functions. As you can see, just adding a little bit on top of that, as you can see what happened 5 or 6, no, that's longer, 8 years ago, well-established New York gallery. How the whole fake Roscoe was able to happen is because they did not verify where that Long Island dealer came from in the first place. And imagine in the future if there's a blockchain platform where this Long Island dealer is walking and says, oh, my great-grandmother knows this Mr. X from Switzerland. And the next time you can directly ask, may you provide me this Mr. X blockchain address? And you check whether that Mr. X has a direct transaction, an artwork provenance transaction with a major gallery or major auction house. Problem solved. I think that's what a lot of those Mr. X, Mr. Y cases can be completely gone with when you add this blockchain provenance. Yeah.
Jess, I want to bring you in here. Is it a case of problem solved? We've heard two panelists who have concerns about actors who are putting bad data. It's bad data problem, really. And the problem with blockchain is once bad data is in the blockchain, it's kind of hard to weed it out. So what's the solution to that problem?
I think that there are.
I also want to add to your question about democratizing artwork. I think it's almost become a necessity, not only from the collector perspective, but also from the artwork perspective. Take a look how the Pulitzer-winning writer Jerry Saltz, the famous art critic, he just recently writes a lot of articles about the art fairs. You take a look at whole model where art fair today has almost become the 1920 or even during that time the post-industrial America, where you have all this oligopolies being formed, and the standard oil is taking over everything. All the middle level, oil mills gone. They cannot make sale. You come here, rent the 30 grand booth, and you go back selling only 10K, and you're gonna cover all the shipping costs. I mean, when you go down to the bottom problem, what's happening is truly the artists at the top, they command so much market power, because even though art is never about money, but if you want another people who make a huge Richard Serra sculpture as an MFA student, straight out of, 150K college debt, you tell that art is not only about money, but he want to create big sculptures. Where did he go for? He or she go for the gallery. And each year, gallery only promotes how many? Less than 10 artists, even the major ones. So where do that student artists go for? And each year, there's so many new MFA students with talent. Where do they go for? They go waiting tables in Soho or waiting tables in LA. A lot of artists having dreams, but get their dream crushed because the promotional channel not there. I think just right now the promotion channel is so tight. This can work back in Renaissance, where I'll say very openly, back in Renaissance, where the rich families collect art. But right now the global landscape is changing. So many people with assets coming up globally everywhere. But you ask anyone, I would say that you ask a lot of people from China who can afford an 8 million condo in the city without glitch. When you tell them about our world, they don't trust our world. They don't know how to get into our world. They have the asset, their children are all Harvard, Cambridge educated, but they do not know art. It's simply they're not part of the ecosystem. I think they have the asset, they deserve to be a part of the ecosystem. And together, think about the potential of driving the whole market where you can say to a middle small gallery that the artists they promote combined with this asset power. Think about the effect for the whole global market. I think it would be very, very good for the market as a whole, especially for protecting artists.
Yeah, Mark,
Just one real-life example. In Geneva, there is a picture of Picasso that was certified.
I said Marco because we all know geology is about money and trust. To shrink your speeches in one short sentence, what is your product about? Thank you.
Elevator pitches.
Art is dealing with identity, value, and human currency.
A platform using blockchain helps with the provenance, promotion, and liquidation of artwork, which means we try to expand the artwork while protecting everyone's interest in it.
Good morning. I'd like to go back to the chance of.
Well, I want to touch on that from because the thing about ICO is that we get into the whole market, the whole blockchain market later than Mercedes and Kodak. So when we get into it, the regulation is very, very, regulation landscape has changed very much because fundamentally retail investor rights are not protected. Oliver, you from the financial background, you know how ICO goes. Like I invested in a couple ICOs, and I invested January 2018. I would just say the return was not as good as people get in last year. And even people who invest in good projects are not right now having the return they're supposed to get last year. And the problem about ICO is that bring a lot of volatility to the retail investor. I mean, for anybody in the developed country, you might be able to handle the risk. But what about someone from Ukraine? What about, from a developing country who invests a lot of money in the project they trust? And right now, watching it goes down 80% in value. So that's the thing make us directly move away from ICO because we realize that essentially whether it's a blockchain company or any company, it's a company. And if you're solid enough, you can get VC funding. And with the VC funding getting to a blockchain company, because a blockchain platform is decentralized, essentially having no shareholder. It's about your brand. How do you leverage it as a blockchain company? Because blockchain company is open source. When we do our platform, everyone can use it for free. What we're leveraging is that we use the blockchain platform to help promote our physical gallery, for which we will support the emerging artists that's been discovered on the platform. And what we were able to do is that we want to stick with regulation 100%, and we want to do it in a way to show people that we're here. It's more like from our whole team who come from collector background. Like we want to help artists, and we want to help the artists who deserve to shine. So I think for us to take this approach is truly stick to the core of what a blockchain platform is about. Because as you know from the finance background, take a look at why Bitcoin is so successful. Because the whole funding team, the founder can be gone. The whole system still works. I think if you're a platform solely based on blockchain, the platform should be self-functional. It should be so decentralized where the trust is built by every single participant in the system, not by a centralized agency. Because when you build the trust by a centralized agency, essentially it's not adhering to the core of blockchain.
Jess, I think the gentleman was also asking about the incentive of those players in the network to add that trust, to build the network.
Yeah, I think
For the people who's already in the art game. But when you flip the whole game, we think about what Mercedes is doing, essentially I think it allows more people to have ownership of art in a sense that they may never been able to do it before. Because when you take a look at what we're trying to promote as FRESCO, because right now, I think museum is gonna be a part that we're gonna focus a lot upon, because today, to be very honestly, museums globally are suffering. Because the engagement model is nothing new. Today you go to any museum, you can only take a picture and then gone. Some of the museums, because of collection sensitivity, instructed by the owners. You cannot even take a picture, and you can only look. That engagement model, just like what Kevin said, only if you own Ethereum, then you care about Ethereum. If you do not know art, if you do not own art, you don't care about art in a sense. So how can you create more people to care about art? Even today, mainstream America, mainstream Europe, as we know, most people are not that so art fine-tuned. So how can we increase that art fine-tunedness? It's truly how can we change the engagement model for museum and for all the other art organizations? It's truly through what Machine is doing. You allow more people to own art in a sense, even though it's a blockchain certificate, even though it's a part of the work on blockchain. But essentially, when you talk that with someone from a developing country, it means a whole lot. If someone was lucky enough through the Dutch auction to bid on a one-person Warhol from a developing country, for which he never were able to see Warhol in his whole life, then he's gonna go online to Google a lot about Warhol. Then he might know Warhol has a factory in Soho. I think that already done its part. It's about letting more people know art. When more people have stake in art, the whole market grows. Because the market right now, 70 billion for like last 10 years almost. Take a look at what blockchain community has become. In the last 4 years, because so many people want to stake in it, it grew to around 450 billion. That's just numbers game. I think it's truly, when you want a market to flourish, you should not be afraid of more players getting in. Because the top players in the ecosystem are still gonna get the trophy pieces. Or just like the major auction houses are doing through the online auction. They're auctioning out price estimate of $200 Picasso lithograph. That's unsigned 2000 edition. I mean, think about that.
Democratizing art, I think that's a good place I'm so sorry, a good place to wrap up on. First of all, can I just thank all of our panelists for some fantastic insights and some great stories about art in warehouses with cameras on it, with Andy Warhol. We've got some great examples here. Can I get a round of applause?